What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Scythe, and today we're going to be doing what you've all been requesting from me for a very, very long time. A tutorial, I guess you could say, of what my Shadowhunter quote-unquote build is. Now, I say quote-unquote because this game doesn't really have anything in the form of builds. You just focus on some very specific stats with certain characters, and then just hope that the random generation of the gems is going to end up accommodating for that, right? So, before we get started, we very much appreciate if you would hit that like button. Helps me out more than you could know. And then, without further ado, for equipment on your Shadowhunter, we'll focus on gems in a minute. You're gonna just be focusing on all of the basic stuff, you know, crit damage, second stat for everything, and then also attack speed at first. You're going to be focusing on attack speed at first because you're going to need every advantage that you can get to get your hands on 5,000 power rank and then get your class gem ability. Because the Shadowhunter, let me tell you, there are classes that are reliant on their class gem ability. And then there's the Shadowhunter where he sucks without his class gem ability. He is an absolutely useless class, and I wouldn't recommend him without his class gem. So if you can't get 5k PR, if you're having a hard time with any of your other characters and stuff like that, wait. Do your Shadowhunter later when you can get him 5k PR, no problem. And I'm hovering over the ring here because I want to show you that I do have Magic Find on my S4 ring, but you can easily swap this out for a crit hit ring if you're finding a little bit of problems. The ally you're going to be using is just the Raptor Berserker, nothing fancy there. And I always just use Death Defying. I find it to be one of the best flasks in the game because if you build your character properly, again, quote unquote, you're going to have very little health, if any max health to your character at all, meaning that you're gonna get one shot left and right, and Death Defying is pretty much a requirement of going in U9 and stuff like that. Then of course Martial Emblem, Martial Emblem you're always gonna want to use on the Shadowhunter. And then for your secondary emblem, I would recommend using Sure Strike until you don't need the crit hit. So if you get lucky enough with your gems that you end up getting enough base crit hit, and I'll show you my stats in a minute, then you can swap out for the Beamer emblem or any other emblem that you want, honestly. But the Beamer emblem is a really good recommended one just because this thing actually does like what, 4 mil damage or something like that. I don't know, it's something crazy. It might even be way over that and I'm underestimating it, but either way, as for my stats, I'll show you these first and then we'll go to the gems. But otherwise, physical damage is at 100k, over 100k. I would say that if you want to consider yourself a strong Shadowhunter, 100k physical damage, 75 to 80 crit hit, 90 is actually really, really good. Like I've got right now, that's actually not bad. And over 1,000 crit damage is what I would like to see for your stats if you want to be doing just fine. Now, granted, before all of these stats, like, you can solo U9 very easily with the Shadowhunter with 80k physical and maybe 50% crit hit. You just swap out the Beamer Eye for a Sure Strike, and then for crit damage you can get away with 800%, and then you'll be soloing U9 no problem. Like, he's a very, very quick class to end up soloing. And then the stats that you're gonna focus on for the gems, this is not a perfect gem. This is a prime example right here. I've got way too many health gems, which it's all random, so there is no skill involved, unfortunately. But the ideal gems that you're going to be focusing on is physical damage, crit damage, and critical hit. No matter what, that is the trinity that you're going to want on your Shadowhunter. And the way that the gem system works, of course, I have a tutorial that talks about this in more depth. But when you find these lower level gems, like just a singular gem like this, you find stellar gems rarely in from U9 gem boxes, right? And you're gonna be looking for a gem that's level 1, and it's gonna be 2 stars, and it's gonna have all 3 stats. Now, to kind of put it into perspective, the absolute perfect gem that you can get, because while you can get a perfect stat gem, then the stats on those gems are going to be varying. So the absolute perfect gem that you can get is one that has physical damage, crit hit, and crit damage, and its base power rank at level 1 is going to be 700. And that's the other thing too. that's where I'm very reluctant to say build, because with all of these gems, you're going to slowly be swapping out better and better gems that you're just going to happen to come across that are going to end up giving you certain stats that you need. So you kind of got to focus your attention on the gems that you need and the stats that you need, rather than just trying to get all the perfect gems you can. Now, that said, get all the perfect gems that you can for sure. And if you end up getting a perfect class gem, well then GG, that's fantastic. But the odds of it actually working out to your favor, that you're going to end up getting perfect gems in the first place, let alone having the perfect stats from them, I mean, GG with that one, man. GG with that. Now, for empowered gems, of course, they're going to end up being 3-star, and I think 700 the best starting stat for the power rank on a gem? I don't know. I don't know for the empowered gem, sorry to say, but what you're gonna most definitely want is explosive epilogue is gonna be one of the abilities you need with the Shadow Hunter for sure. If there's one gem ability that you have outside of your class gem ability, it is explosive epilogue. It's gonna make this guy 10 times stronger because you'll end up randomly having enemies explode and cause tons and tons of damage. And then for myself, the secondary gem that I like using is Cubic Curtain, because it puts a protective shield around your Shadow Hunter, and of course, you're going to be a very squishy character if you don't have any health, so I find that it's actually really, really good for keeping you alive. But honestly speaking, if you're trying to go all damage, you're going to want to swap this out for, I don't know, one of the other empowered gems that actually has more offensive capabilities. But honestly speaking, you're not really going to have that much of a trouble soloing U9 or anything like that. The real difficulty comes with Ultra Towers, and even though I can solo my way through Ultra Spikewalker, no problem, I can solo Ultra Weeping, but of course it takes a lot of time. I don't know if, unless you have, the perfect stats or something like that, you're not going to be able to solo Ultra Pinata up to the boss, let alone the boss itself. You're never going to be able to solo it as the Shadow Hunter, or, well, mostly anybody. I don't know if any class can, outside of maybe the Chloromancer or the Revenant or something, but even then, you got to have fantastic stats on those characters. Now, the only reason I'm saying this is, for all intensive purposes, if I end up swapping all of my gems out to my Neon Ninja, for example, and I think that I might experiment with that just because I like varying it up, and even though Shadow Hunter is definitely my favorite and my main, I kind of want to swap off of him. Time will tell whether or not I actually end up doing that, but I'm just saying that if you end up having some fantastic gems on your Shadow Hunter, you can easily swap those over to your Neon Ninja, and you're going to be 10 times stronger, because the Neon Ninja is just better than the Shadow Hunter, because he's a melee character, meaning that his abilities don't mess up and glitch out as much as the Shadow Hunter, because heads up, folks, the ultimate on the Shadow Hunter, although it does have a lot of damage on it, the calculations of it, it should actually do a lot more damage than it does, but it doesn't. And the fact of the matter is that it misses half of the time. And even if you hit an enemy point blank with the Shadow Hunter, sometimes your ability is not going to cause any damage. And that's entirely the game's fault and the fault of ranged characters in the game. Because when you're using melee characters, that's where I would recommend to go personally, just for playstyle, just because it's more reliable. And if you want someone very easy to build, if you want an easier character than a Shadow Hunter's good, don't get me wrong, but he is reliant on his class gem ability. And Gunslinger and Neon Ninja would take the cake as far as very easy to grind up characters would be. Same with the Dino Tamer. He's actually a real easy one to get, very powerful to handle U9. Shadow Hunter takes a little bit, but once you do get him to U9, I mean, he's the funnest class for me, so anyways, you can go check out my Trove Let's Play series. I've got plenty of videos showing off the power of this guy. But either way, thanks for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found this video helpful. I know that it's a little bit of a longer video, but I want to talk in more detail as to what exactly I focus on with my Shadow Hunter. And hopefully this has ended up helping you in your decision whether or not you want to actually main the Shadow Hunter, or whether or not you can actually end up making a build like this viable, if you can even call it a build. Thanks for watching, though, folks. Good luck with the random generation of the gems. Don't forget to hit that like button, sayonara, and stay epic.